I will keep harping on it because it is the big amplification point in responsible AI that is often thought, oh, well, IT has that. It's everyone's job now as they're using AI models. And they've got to thread that all the way through with the cybersecurity and data privacy. That is usually what will get the biggest business case for the organizations of all sizes to move the needle on why we need these frameworks and why beyond the misnomers of it's just inclusivity or DE&I or bias, it's the right thing to do. Often the right thing to do is not getting the business value with organizations. But when you hit back on the Achilles heel of risk, slander, fraud, overrun costs, and the cybersecurity pieces, and how those skills are now dispersed or need to be dispersed in order to be competitive, it's a different understanding and a different criticality that senior leaders are really prioritizing.
Yeah, I harp on this all the time when it comes to responsible AI. We are all responsible. It just follows what we've seen with cybersecurity. Just like anybody can be a weak link, anyone can click on a spear phishing email or things like that. And so one of the things that I haven't seen enough of is in the same way you would do like compliance training with harassment and cyber and data privacy or whatever when you onboard and at some recurring frequency, usually annually. I haven't seen a lot of people adding to that a responsible AI module.
Mm.
And the same way when everyone at IBM had to learn what cognitive computing was and what IBM Watson was capable of doing, you still had modules around data, around cloud, around cyber, because this isn't just a new set of toys that you're playing with. There are implications to the data that it's trained on, and the inputs and the outputs. And I don't think that some of those fundamentals have not really changed.
100% agree with you on that. Yay. I love hearing that. The responsible AI modules, whenever someone hears module or program, and they haven't done it before, they can have that knee-jerk reaction of extra cost. And there's an ROI and a business value to it that is, threaded on the organization's philosophy, but it also can be expanded. And that's where the teaching comes in. And at the HR Tech sessions last year with Human Capital Institute, of which I'm on the board of, there is so much fever and excitement around what companies like Vero AI or FairNow can do with the governance and the regulations of that. That has to be expanded in HR being able to sell that because it comes down to, again, is HR the priority of the company? And that is still an age-old question of balance, which I feel like it needs to be more valued in terms of the impact they can bring. Right now, HR is very threatened to keep their jobs. HR has got to accelerate their skills. They've got to be able to articulate the business cases. And we've been saying that for years to whether it's a CFO on a business process outsourcing model, global payroll, worker time system, learning and development. The quantifying the business case is more prevalent than ever. And those type of modules, programs, thinking have value. And it's been proven with different research institutes, including IBM's, but it's also been put into practice. And it's funny, I was with a large financial tech firm in Europe last year, and they wanted me to come in and teach their HR and their HR managers on AI from digital literacy and data. Maybe they haven't done a lot with, like you said earlier, they didn't have that workforce analytics team that was so skilled or really beefed up with resources or skilling. So they wanted me to look at the entire program and put a program together that we executed. But in the first request was the CHRO, she took me aside and she's like, our chairman of the board wants training for him, his team of shareholders, and for all of us in the C-suite. And I said, I understand. And it was really getting into the tactics that they needed to understand that honestly, I won't get off on a soapbox, but any consumer needs to know on sharing data with what's listening around us to how data is being consumed, whether it's IP and copyright laws, whether it's your own data, or your organization's data, that construct of digital learning is needed at every single level all the way down. And they've got to get their hands dirty into thinking through it. And the organizations that are best equipped, I talked about this financial firm, they are doing wonderfully for a company that never used tech and was very consumer interacted to now using tech effectively while preserving the customer experience, really just doing marvelously. And the first step they had to do was train their teams. And that investment's required. It's for frontline managers at a different level, but for the data protection, data stewards, more than ever, we are giving away data every single day. And through our companies is one of the biggest exposure points within the hours of 8 to 5, wherever someone works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you are hitting on something I've spoken about before. I know, whenever we talk
You've
about,
shared so much great stuff, Bob. Like I'm hoping that we did.
yeah, no, absolutely. But what I was thinking was like when it comes to transformation,
Hmm.
right? You can't escape talking about transformation and change. And um, this is a significant one. I mean, I spent my whole career doing transformation, but this one is bigger than ever. And so you're right. There are no populations that should be excluded from this or can be excluded from this. And the leadership teams in particular, it's not just so that they can build their own agents, which might be nice. It's so that they have a full appreciation of the benefits, the opportunities, and the risks. I mean, when people start bringing you ideas related to how they could use AI and automation, you want to have a full appreciation for what the implications of those ideas are, such that you put some backing and build real business cases behind, what you're proposing. And so I think um, they really need to get on board. I mean, IBM did this with Watson. They did it with design thinking. It wasn't just for product teams; it was leadership
Hmm.
teams, because you could have a product mindset in HR. You could have a product mindset in supply chain. You've really got to understand some of these principles that are almost transferable, across domains. So I think it's incredibly important. I mean, I'd like to see some enterprise sort of training and incubation, just like we did back in the day with Watson and the cognitive build program that I wound up leading. Because once you unleash that creativity and upskill people on what's possible, you're going to get a lot of ideas. What are you going to do with them? Do you have the capacity to embrace those ideas? And it also goes back to what we talked about with diversity, not just DEI, but different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, neurodiversity. Um, you've got to understand how to put all of these things together into effective teams and impactful products and services.
Yes, I think Bill Gates just came out in his one of his interviews of saying that he would have definitely been on the spectrum from a neurodiversity piece had he been tested back then. And can you imagine having the equation said before you, whether you like him or not, you know, we just failed to hire Bill Gates, somebody that we know trajectory-wise is going to change the world and the technology landscape. It's the Bill Gates that are out there. It's the Steve Jobs. It's the Martin Luther Kings. It's all the different leaders that we now well know that are in that hidden population of the talent that we're going to have to scrape to find because the talent pool is so much lower. And with the different shifts that are going on within the communities and bringing in workers or offshoring with workers, we've got to find those skills. And to your point, we've got to be able to harness the ideas. Curiosity, creativity, and innovative thinking are still some of the top 3 skills that every research firm is still rating that's needed for AI and technology thinking. And if we don't find the right way to harness that feedback, I mean, when we're integrating ChatGPT into Slack systems and we're stating a 25% improvement in onboarding and employee engagement so quickly from onboarding, there's so many different vehicles to listen effectively to what the candidates and the employees need to be able to hire the best talent. And that's what responsible AI for HR should really get into is the optimization of the best possible talent.